There's a reason the old veterans would pause, stare off for a second, and then change the subject when you asked what really kept them alive out there. Not the rifles, not the grenades, not the gear that made it into the museums. I'm talking about the quiet tools, the improvised fixes, the everyday objects troops depended on, but never glorified. And before we get into them, make sure you subscribe to The Prepper Historian, because this channel is for people who take history seriously, who want the raw details, and who use the past to sharpen real-world preparedness today. What you're about to hear isn't theory. These are items that kept men breathing when conditions were at their worst, and they still have practical value for modern survivalists. The first item soldiers relied on, but rarely discussed, was the humble sewing kit that doubled as a field repair lifeline. Every soldier carried one, often issued as a simple housewife kit, but its uses went far beyond stitching torn trousers. Troops repaired ripped webbing that held ammunition, reinforced pack straps, and even sewed torn boots when replacements were weeks away. Some soldiers stitched cloth around metal gear to silence rattling at night, which meant the difference between staying hidden or getting discovered. For modern preppers, a compact sewing kit can save expensive gear in the field. If your rucksack strap tears on a long trek, strong needlework keeps you moving instead of stranded. The key is to learn a basic saddle stitch and practice reinforcing stress points long before you need it. The second item that kept troops functioning was the metal mess tin, not for meals, but as a multi-purpose survival container. It boiled water, cooked improvised soups, melted snow, and could even be used to sterilize bandages. Soldiers heated it with everything from small fires to burning fuel tabs scavenged from ration kits. In occupied territories, partisans used mess tins to mix homemade disinfectants or boil forage into edible form. Today, a steel or aluminum mess tin still earns its place in a pack. If your water filter fails, boiling keeps you safe. If you need to make char cloth, the mess tin becomes the perfect container. Soldiers treated the tin as a tool, not a utensil, and that mindset is what modern preppers should copy. The third item was a pocket Bible or a small notebook, carried not just for morale, but as a practical survival document. Inside, soldiers wrote blood types, radio codes, crude maps, safe houses, mine locations, and instructions for comrades in case they didn't make it. Some pages were torn out for fire starters, others used to stabilize wounds. Modern versions of this idea still matter deeply. Carry a small waterproof notebook with crucial phone numbers, first aid instructions you've practiced, and grid coordinates for rendezvous points. Batteries die, paper survives. World War II veterans knew that better than anyone. The fourth item was the tin of foot powder, a seemingly trivial luxury that actually prevented mission-ending injuries. Trench foot wasn't limited to the First World War. Second World War infantrymen marched through swamps, snowfields, and bombed out city rubble. Keeping feet dry meant, well, keeping mobility. Foot powder reduced moisture, prevented fungal infections, and extended sock life when replacements weren't coming. For today's survivalists, it's still essential. Long-distance hikers and military personnel swear by it. If you're bugging out on foot or doing extended field training, a small tin can prevent crippling problems. Use it daily, especially before sleeping, to dry the skin and prevent maceration. The fifth item that soldiers depended on but rarely highlighted was the compact sharpening stone. Blades dull fast in real field conditions, cutting rope, opening crates, stripping bark for shelter poles, or prying open rusted hinges. A sharp knife meant easier food prep, cleaner cuts for medical tasks, and faster construction of improvised gear. Troops carried small stones in pockets, sewn into pouches, or tied into kits. For today's preppers, a palm-sized whetstone kept in your pack can keep your tools performing. Dull blades slow you down, waste energy, and raise the risk of injuries. Keep a routine 10 passes each side, light pressure, field-ready edge. The sixth item that rarely made it into post-war stories was the stash of safety pins tucked into uniforms and packs. These tiny pieces of metal, saved hours. Soldiers used them to repair torn straps, secure bandages during firefights, hang gear from packs, lock zippers, and even pick simple latches. Some commandos use them to secure pant legs against parasites in jungle environments. Today, safety pins really do belong in every survival kit. If your clothing tears during a trek, just pin it shut until you have time to stitch. If your shelter tarp grommet fails, a pin becomes your new anchor point. They're light, durable, and reliable. The seventh item that kept troops alive was the small bottle of iodine or alcohol they tucked away when conventional medical supplies ran thin. Medical kits were limited, so soldiers carried whatever antiseptic they could scrounge. Treating small cuts prevented infections that could spread dangerously fast in the field. They also used iodine to purify questionable water when boiling wasn't possible. Modern preppers should carry a compact antiseptic vial or wipes. Clean wounds immediately, even minor ones. In a long-term scenario, infections spread fast without antibiotics. WWII troops learned the hard way, so we don't have to. The eighth item, rarely spoken about but universally respected, was the spare bootlace. Break a lace during a march and you're in trouble. But laces were used for much more tying gear, creating snares, reinforcing shelters, bundling firewood, or even serving as an emergency sling. Some troops braided laces into stronger cordage. Carrying an extra pair today is still a smart move. Choose strong, woven laces and keep them coiled in your pack. Their uses go far beyond footwear. These 8 items weren't glamorous. They weren't heroic. But they kept men alive when the stakes were absolute. That's why they matter today, because survival is about the quiet tools, the overlooked details, and the habits that build resilience. If you found this guide valuable, subscribe to The Prepper Historian and share it with someone who loves learning the real lessons history has to offer.